Good morning. Today is July 17th, 2024. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. I will call this meeting of the board to order. If you do have your cell phones, I would ask that you silence them at this time.
Okay.
I will do the same. I have not done that. Okay. And if you would join me for the pledge and for the invocation, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And join me for the invocation, please. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning on this beautiful day that you've given to us. And we just thank you for the opportunity that we have to come together here to take care of the business of the county. We pray that you would be with us, that you would guide us, that you would give us your wisdom. Father, we thank you for that. We just ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Kelly, could we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Day.
Present.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Epp.
Present.
County Attorney Dan Slater.
Here.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Kemper present.
Okay. And we'll start with audience introductions. We'll start with you gentlemen over here first. Just introduce yourself.
Who are you?
Got it. I'm Fred Beachy, the Wildland Coordinator and Water Resource with Wetland on Fire.
Jeremiah Coleman, Fire Chief for Wetland. James Gilbert.
Ralph Klein.
Wendy Rusk.
Tate Rusk.
Joe Logando, Battalion Chief with the OPC.
Jeff Uthier, Forest Service, San Carlos Ranger District.
Jim Chaplin.
Gary Trishwell, Head Coach of Custer County Fire Rescue.
Okay, and we've got a few people online. We've got a couple people, I guess, Deb Adams and Jeff at Westcliff Web Design. If anyone goes to speak later, if you could identify yourself for the record, I would greatly appreciate it. Any amendments to the agenda?
Not from me.
None for me.
I would ask that we would remove formalizing the practice of paid lunch from the agenda, as we found the documentation for that.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys good with that?
I'm good with that.
Nothing else from me. We have minutes from July 10th.
I move we accept the minutes of July 10th.
And I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from July 10th. Any discussion on that?
None for me.
Good, thanks.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Rob approves.
Yeah, no, I have a problem, to be honest with you. I believe one of the staff members gave you guys, did not disclose what was going on within the county, because the complaint was filed in the office, and that was not brought up at that meeting, so that's not sitting too tight with me. But I plan on bringing it up today in the public comment.
Okay.
I'll
section.
let you do that. We're voting on the minutes of what did happen at the meeting.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right. That motion carried, by the way. Commissioner items. Commissioner Kanda.
Just a quick news flash here. We've got budget, went through the budget with the airport on how we stand with the Jet A project program and the stuff that's on the ramp. And based on that and the engineering contract that Armstrong has, I'm going to approve just the contract that they have. They worked very hard on it. I'll sign it and make it complete now. I brought that up last time. So that's all I have right now.
All righty. Commissioner Epp.
I've started looking at a different venue for this meeting.
due to one of the other auditor's suggestions was that we get our HR and finance out of where we have our meetings so that we don't have distractions and we keep them a little more focused on the task at hand. So started looking for a different venue. Just started making some phone calls. So I'll be updating you guys to see how that goes, and then we'll see what we need to do with this complex
Nice.
to turn it in to see what we want to do. So whether we want to move a different group in here and move HR finance into the county building over there, or what we want to do. So that's all I have.
I could offer up Wetmore, but I don't think you guys all want to drive every week, so.
I don't know.
You can offer
I
all-
did. It's on my mind. It's on the
You can offer all
list.
you want. Let's go to San Isabel.
It's on the list. We already
instead.
paid for that, so
That's it,
it's
it's
already on
ours.
the list.
So,
And Dan would be happy with that.
So I might have some problems with not having the meeting in the county seat regularly.
well, that might be a problem, so.
Yeah.
And I don't think we could move it, I don't think we'd want to, so. All right. Couple of things on mine. I did get the quarterly report submitted on the weed grant yesterday. Brittany and I've been in contact with Brittany Pearson, Fremont County. She has been, or her crew has at least, a couple of times taking care of some of the roadsides. And she has stated that they will stay within their budget of $12,000 for the year, making sure that they hold that to that, and which allows us to have, I believe, ample money between that, the rest of that grant, and what we have budgeted for the cost share program.
Okay, and I think there's actually 15 in there for her, so.
Okay, so that will work. Good. And then I see that we all received an email. I believe we all got that email on the for the air conditioning at the Vermont Tower.
Yep.
So we have 3 bids to look at there. Would we like to put that on an agenda item
For next
so we could move forward with
Well,
that, and then
End of month.
end of month meeting?
Yeah.
Will we be able to address the generator at that time?
I believe so. We'll be able to do generators. We have at least 2 now.
Okay, I think we need to move forward with that, so we're not doing it in the wintertime. Get it done while everybody has it in their budget this year.
Okay.
So,
No, put it for the 31st.
could you make a note of that, Kelly, and get those on for end of month? So, and then, would we like to have a meeting, set up a meeting between the county and the clay busters to work out some details there?
I don't think we need it. We got the insurance thing that's just distributed. We know the rules.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't know if, I know Robert had suggested possibly a meeting,
Yeah, I
so I
talked to
wanted
him
to
about
ask
it.
about that.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Okay, that being the case, then that's all I have. Mr. Slater,
I don't have anything.
Kelly, anything? All right. We have no unfinished business. First item on the new business would be the Wetmore Playground equipment. This has been I did submit for that mini grant through UOCOG. We did receive that. That will be up to a $5,000 match on a 50% match. We had a quote from MVP Playgrounds beforehand. And it came in at $9,694, which would leave a little bit of room to put some sand or something like that, I think, to put around that after we get it installed. There are volunteers and that are in place to help install that playground. That 96,9412 will be delivered in at that price.
Okay.
And so I was bringing this to the board to move ahead with that, or if we could. And I think
So we'll match that with CTO funds. There's 50-some $1,000 at the bottom of that, so I'll put a budget resolution together for the end of the month, 31st, to move that money and to accept the mini grant funds, so.
okay.
So we got the budget.
Yep.
Curious, does it require sand or sawdust or
We could
rubber?
use sand, we could use rubber, we could use wood chips. Last two options are more expensive than sand. I believe the community building board had thought that sand would probably be the better option, but that doesn't mean that we need to go that way. If you guys would prefer to use the rubber or the wood chips, we could do that. I do have contact information from MVP, the dealers that they use for that. I have not got a quote from them, but if you guys would like to move forward with something like that, we could sure do that.
Let's ask the moms in the room, because I know what my wife would say about sand in the car.
Well, we have a couple of them in the room.
Just saying.
I think about splinters.
Okay, yeah.
So you'd be against the wood chips?
I've got, if my kids are getting the splinters in the playground, we got bigger problems than
Don't let them sit on the merry-go-round
Right.
because,
That's life lessons. As you play, you're gonna get splinters.
So you got a lot of
I don't care,
volunteers,
just
maintenance on it.
do whatever you wanna do.
Okay,
I don't- whatever, it makes sense, whatever's easiest.
I can reach out for
Think it
prices
matters.
and then, if they seem exorbitant for the other two materials, I will stick to sand if they don't look too bad. If I have the okay, I can move forward with one of them as well, just to fill that area in.
I move we accept the Whitmore Playground equipment bid that you just gave us.
And mini grant. And I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to accept the bid from MVP Playgrounds on 969412 and to move forward with the playground and accepting using the mini grant through UOCOG. Any discussion here at the table?
None for me.
Okay. Public comment. Okay, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Well, vote aye provided you check with Wendy if you're gonna go to sawdust.
I will make sure that it is splinterless wood chips. I believe they're treated somehow, but I don't know exactly, to be honest with you. And your bid, or your
Aye.
votes are aye. That motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Next item would be budget resolution 24-17. That is for our VSO, the $6,000 for upfront money.
So he's, the VSO got a veterans assistance grant, $30,000. It's a reimbursable grant, so we need to fund the initial startup of that, and then he'll be as he spends the money, he'll be sending that in for reimbursement and getting the money back. And then I think he's hoping that that'll fund the rest of the money then, and it'll just continue to go until the 30,000's used up. This is to move that initial $6,000 and to realize the assistant grant revenue into revenue line. So that's what this resolution's for.
Yeah, it's not a match or anything, it's
No,
just priming the pump.
just priming the pump.
I move we approve resolution 2417.
That be approved or adopt?
Either
Or, I guess we could do either or.
adopt it would be good.
I would second that. Any discussion here at the table, further discussion on that?
No, and all I'll say with these resolutions is we are staying on top of getting these listed with DOLA. That's where our budgets get listed, and that's where all our resolutions get listed too. So just to let you know.
All right, thank you for that.
I know we had a plan to have Mike Chesser keep track of logging them, they're helping make sure, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Any public comment on this item? Those in favor of adopting resolution number 24-17 signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. This one be that you handed me for signatures?
Yes.
Next item up would be the fire retention ponds for Rusk and Beckwith Ranch ponds.
Okay, I put that on there, and so let me say a couple quick things about it. This has been working with Tate and the rest of the crew here that you see for this presentation today, and with all the data that they brought, I think it's going to be complete. I did talk with Jerry Livengood last night as well. He's not going to be able to be here. I talked to him in the past, and he won't be here today, but if we run into any question that we might want the water commissioner to, or the board of fire chief, board of directors, then we can call him, and I got his number if we want that. So with that, Tate, you want to bring your presentation up and introduce the people that you've got here to support it?
Whatever you want me to do. Just to start off with, it's not a fire retention, it's a fire suppression.
It's a suppression.
Suppression ponds. So I guess what started this whole thing, there was a Senate bill that was signed back in June of 22. I think Wendy circulated, and that's what I'm basing everything off of, is this rules for fire suppression ponds. And anybody correct me if I'm wrong, but it allows each county to have as much as 30 surface acres of water to be retained for fire suppression. And no, sorry, I get a little nervous when I speak in front of people for some reason, but and no ponds larger than 6 acres. And so what we have is 2 ponds on our property that we'd like to allow it for the community to, it's a benefit for the community to have, water resources. And I've got some maps to show a better picture of what I'm trying to explain. But I think both of these ponds, one's close to Highway 69 and one is close to County Road 170, and both of them are easily accessed by any kind of tender truck or brush truck, or I think any of those can.
You want to have them hold that up there? Just
What's that?
point to them. You have a couple people hold that chart up or your map up.
Well,
Just because I'm familiar with where they are. I don't know if Lucas is, and
these things will paint a lot
Kevin.
better picture than me talking about them. All right. So. So I guess.
yeah, there you go.
So
There you go. Yeah, Vanna White.
this is all our property north of Westcliff. This is Highway 69. This is the Beckwith buildings here. So this is one pond, and it's also been used several times in my stint here for fire suppression. You'll see some pictures of that pond there. And then this is our other pond. It's closer to County Road 170. And I think it's actually probably a little bit easier to access off the county road. This kind of shows, you know, some of the lots and some of the stuff that, you know, there's gonna be houses on each and every one of these, pretty much. So, but this next one is actually a better map of just how many lots are around these. And there again, here's one of our ponds, here's our other pond. And so it's servicing all of these lots. So I feel like and I don't know of any other water sources that are close or around there. You can start seeing some down here, but I think we would benefit the community an awful lot with those.
So on the Beckwith Pond, there's hookups for it still there? Or
There's
nothing there at
They've
all?
only used it for aerial.
Is it? Okay.
So they come in, and there's a picture of a helicopter, I believe, and all that.
I believe, Jeremiah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that fire out that direction here, I don't remember how many years ago now.
On Easter Sunday?
Yeah, I believe when I was with the county then, I was filling their tender. You guys had a pump in that pond, did you not? Or were you here at that time?
I don't believe you did
Okay.
at that time, but
So I think that,
Yeah, that was-
I think I remember using that particular pond.
it definitely would have been a benefit that day if we'd had water right there. So, I think I brought enough people to answer any questions, but
Joe's just biting
So what-
at the
so I guess with reverting back to that fire suppression sheet was the first one. I think it wants in excess of 30,000 gallons, and in both of these, we just did a little search with Onyx to map these out. I've got 1.7 acres in one pond and 3.3 acres in another. Let's say the Rusk Pond first, it's got 553 gallons available to it. And then this other pond is actually called Shawner Lake at Beckwith, and it's got 430,000 gallons, over 430,000 gallons. So it exceeds what you're looking for. And then, you know, both these ponds are not going to consume a whole lot of what your total space is for the county. I think either one of these, and both of them, should be approved to be utilized for the community, because as you can see, there's an awful lot of lots. Awful lot of places that would utilize it. And Jeff has used it before, Jeff Uthier's used it before for, you know, National Forest isn't that far from us either. So.
Are these runoff filled? Are these both runoff
You know,
filled?
they're spring fed.
Spring fed.
They're spring fed, just groundwater. And I know one of the definitive dates with this is to not have ponds after 1972. Is that how you guys read that?
Yeah.
So I guess with that, to show a little bit of history here, got a couple maps. Jeremiah, you still available?
Yes, sir.
This one is of 1956. It'll show that pond here at Beckwith. It doesn't show our pond. I've got another map for that. This is the pond that's Shawner Lake. So I think that would prove it was there before 72. And in fact, if you want to go back a little further, the date on this one isn't perfect, but it's from 1938. And it shows that pond there at Beckwith. So I don't think there's going to be any dispute on whether they were there in 72 or not. And then we've got a smaller one. This is the best I could come up with from 1962 that shows our pond here at the house. And so that's the pond, and there's the date that we're going with. So, I don't know, do you guys have any questions for me? I expect this is probably going to be the first one you guys have talked about. I expect you'll see quite a few more.
Never registered as a stock pond or anything like that, then that's why you're needing to have the,
It's been used for stock water, yes.
but not registered.
It was never
I don't-
adjudicated.
Yeah.
Do you know of anything there? Not that I know of.
So if the board wants to consider this, the way I read this is the board, well, number one, would need to make sure the fire chief's okay with it. I'm assuming he is because he's here, because that would be consultation with the fire protection district.
Right.
And then the board would need to authorize a needs assessment to be performed and provide notice to the state engineer's office that we're considering it. We couldn't just go ahead and authorize it today, we'd have to go through that process first.
Sure, it will get funded to the state
Yeah.
engineer.
Yeah, that's the process.
And I don't know who does that needs assessment, like in the county, I don't know what office assigned that to.
Can I fill in here? Can I add a little bit? Are you good? So basically, this is a resolution from the state engineer's office to have the county perform a needs assessment for an up to 30 surface area acres, including 6 acres total. So we show a 3 and a 1.7 acre ponds, and show access. So really, it is right now, I think it would be a really good idea. Of course, you guys know Custer County is in a either severe or moderate fire hazard area just because of our national forests. So really, what needs to happen right now is the county does need to have a needs assessment. The state has proposed this, and so as my understanding reads that if we can work with the county, with the fire department, with the Forest Service to determine several ponds throughout the county and make one big application with the recommendations of those ponds, that's where the county needs to work forward instead of of course, we feel like ours have very strong added values, that were county maintained. We've been using before. We can use aerial and ground on the highway access, just ground, just because there's some requirements within this regulation that will require height restrictions, distances, just because of the dangers associated with that.
For aerial.
Yes.
For aerial. There's also some requirements based on the diameter of the pond that would require dry hydrants. We have a picture of what those kind of look like. So all that needs to be in consideration for all of these ponds, and I do believe ponds shouldn't be educated for water previously, or have an augmentation plan, previously for the fire suppression.
No,
So
I don't
I
believe
don't think
there
we
was a-
consider those ponds.
Sorry, I didn't mean to muddy the water there.
The county needs to take that into consideration. Here's augmented ponds that are not available for use. Here's these other ponds that, one, will provide groundwater and livestock watering purposes, and then also for fire mitigation. So, within access to subdivisions, access to historic sites. I do know one thing that we've discussed, and I think Jeff mentioned to us, and I believe also Jeremiah, fire in the Sangres, if there's an aerial need for that assistance to go to Deweese, there's a need to close the highway for that. And so if that Beckwith pond is on the west side of the highway, that need is limited. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's another, just some things to think about. You think, Deweese isn't so far when you're talking a helicopter, but if you're shutting down a highway, just some considerations. So I think there's this regulation for you guys to follow, and we've done a lot of this legwork just trying to see if our ponds are really good candidates for that. So I've looked at all the regulations. I'm happy to provide that documentation for you guys if that's sufficient. And then there's an application that I believe Mr. Loviona has and can discuss for each pond with its identification, latitude, longitude, how it's fed, that kind of stuff. So we've certainly done our legwork and hope to have the rest of the county landowners, pond rights, be able to have something to go on so we can put something together efficiently for the county and move forward. I'm not aware if there's any deadlines to file the plan. So that's my 2 cents. And
Is there a maximum amount of acreage that we can
Yes.
claim for
Yes.
all of Custer County?
Yeah.
30.
30 acres
Surface
total.
acres per
And so
And
what
then
I'm
each of the-
consuming is about 5.
Okay,
And they have to be certain radius apart.
okay.
And
Yes.
You had brought up at one point, there was like a 2-mile rule. I
Yeah,
haven't
so-
seen anything like
there
that, but
was
the
a-
distance between these two ponds, it's crow flies is 2.
That's why we probably ought to look into all the requirements that the state does have, make sure. Sounds
As
like
far
it.
as what I've read through, I haven't seen anything on that, but there is 2.7 miles between. the
And I
two
got
ponds.
part of that, Jerry Lyman had brought up at one point. I mean, if they're overlapping together, didn't make sense because
Certainly under.
certain distance, it has to be apart.
Right.
So anyway,
Certainly so.
a
You
needs
don't wanna-
assessment would be who? Yeah, I mean, the county needs a needs assessment, and we can approve that, which means we'd approve fire suppression ponds to the tune of 30 acres. And
Would
then-
that include these three gentlemen back here?
Yeah, I would think so.
Maybe you could speak to that, Joe, or Jeff, or even Jeremiah. A needs assessment by the county would probably include at least the three of you, correct?
Input.
With input on that, or what does that look like, or do you know?
I don't know. I can certainly get some information. I know that Huerfano County has identified quite a few ponds. And there is a process where I think once ponds are identified that have to go through this process, or the Water Commission is gonna require you to tear the berm down and let that water flow. There is and I think it is time sensitive. Once those ponds have been designated, then you have 1 year. There's a process you can turn in and say, this is a lot long, this is a pond that the county's
Right.
considering. That essentially buys you a year to get the application filed for that pond. And I don't know if any ponds in Custer County have been identified by the Water Commission yet, or the Water Resources to have this process get going, so maybe we're still under the radar here, which
Well,
essentially okay.
what I know about it is from the Upper Ark Water Conservancy District, listening to what they've been dealing with and what the presentations have been on that, and talking with Jerry Lyman good. We can identify the ponds. There's several that are in consideration. I think the Coleman Ranch up down south is the one that they are putting on a request for as well. I think, I'm not quite sure how you would, I think we need them, right? We know we have fire dangers in different parts of this county that are pretty significant. So what, would it be a two-step thing where we would approve the 30-acre needs, or that the county needs it, and then we've got 3 ponds that have been identified, these 2 and the Coleman one that I'm aware of.
So as I read this, it sounds like we need to identify the ponds, and the needs assessment then needs to analyze those ponds. So I think the identification comes first, then the needs assessment, and at the same time as we identify the ponds, we also notify the state engineer's office that these are the ponds we're considering and analyzing under the needs assessment. That's how I read this at least.
That way they're not moving forward with making them drain the ponds.
Yeah, and
So,
but we need to make the public aware of that, because some of the people are probably don't know, most of what wouldn't. So I think that's probably the first step we take, is we approve today the process that we're gonna take.
But has another county done this already, and done the needs assessment for suppression ponds, so that we can?
Good question.
Joe just said Huerfano had done something, so we might.
I can certainly check with them. John Galusha, one of their commissioners, and their emergency manager, have been working on this project extensively. They had pre-identified a lot of ponds in Huerfano County, and location and depth and suitability. They had done that about 4 or 5 years ago and made a map available, so if there's a fire in Huerfano County, those aerial resources would know, hey, we have permission to use this one, we don't have permission to use that one, it's deep enough, so on and so forth. So they already had identified a lot of ponds that were suitable for suppression use. And so then it was a matter of contacting those landowners with this new process. And so they've been doing a lot of work over the last 6 to 9 months, so I can certainly check with them and see what their needs assessment process looks like, if they're utilizing an outside agency or internal agencies to the county or what, then I could certainly.
That'd be good. My impression is, the statewide, it's an issue. That's the 1974 rule, you know, you gotta do it. They haven't been enforcing it yet, you know, and so it's gotten to the point where the rubber meets the road. And I think a lot of people in this room attended the meeting with the state engineer up here the other day. And I mean, the word I get is we're setting a precedence here, maybe for the state, I don't know. So I don't, you know, this is a new ruling, I don't know how old that is, but.
About a year.
You know,
This thing has been,
it's about a year old, so.
the application process is.
So the process is pretty straightforward, maybe the first step would be to get a couple of people putting together a proposed process. We're gonna go identify the ponds. We're gonna have to make the people aware of it, get it in the works, get the right people to identify that as a good location, you know, fire department, state forest, et cetera. Then come back to the board with the process, you know, that we're gonna use to adopt.
Division of Water Resources has 2 full-time employees right now during the summer that is
Oh, yeah,
marking and
that's right.
identifying those. They're gonna build together a spreadsheet. I think their timeline to be done with that is about 60 days. There's 1,000.
September, I think. is
There's
what they
1,000
said, yeah.
ponds to do it. I don't know if they're gonna get it done. But there's no sense in doing double the work if somebody else is already out
Right.
there identifying.
And they're doing it, we could ask them to come here first.
Absolutely.
And I'm sending a letter to all the other, or an email to all the other county attorneys to see if I can get copies of needs assessment reports that other counties have done as well.
You know, from my point of view, I would be perfectly happy identifying those 2 ponds as potential ponds that would be very good to have in the locations that they are. And maybe the Coleman Pond too. But short of that, if they're gonna identify key, and I know, and I think what are they, work study students doing this for
Kind of an
them?
internship type.
Yeah, internship, I think, is what they said. So I think that would be the way to go. I think we need to approve and recognize that we have a need. Let's go work the process and get the 30 acres of ponds identified. And then adopt it.
Is there, and I'm assuming, I think I know the answer to my question, but it was kind of stated opposite from what my belief is a while ago, or I heard it that way. We don't have to have a full list of our ponds that we have identified before we go to the state. We can do it on individual ponds or individual landowners.
Sure.
The application process is each individual pond has its own application.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess as they would trickle in and
Sure.
new ones are identified, then there would be a new application for that.
And since that's perfect.
That's what I thought the answer was, but I thought something different a while ago, so I wanted to clarify that.
Well, and we might want to prioritize which ponds, what locations, what's,
And you could do that.
I mean, depending on what,
Of course, you never can bet on where they're gonna pop up. That's
no, I know you, I realize that.
so, and he made a good point, Tate did. There's a lot of people around that area, subdivisions, growth, as well as forest and grasslands.
Yeah.
So I think your statement was kind of alluding to our 30-acre max, so prioritize the ones we would make sure we wanted to have within that. And so that we don't lose something that we would benefit from by having others in. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that plus, if you identified 30 acres worth of ponds, and this pond over here, we know is spring fed and is not, you'd wanna identify, I think, what is all out there, just not grab 30 acre feet of ponds and just go, okay, I'll put your applications in. I mean, if it's an application per pond, I would think you'd want to go, let's go after this one, this one, this one, this one, and just go down the line, because I would imagine if you're gonna flood
You would, each one, what's
A dozen or
the
15?
maximum size, did you say? 6 acres. So that's only, what, 5 ponds?
It's 5 to 10 are probably what you guys.
Yeah.
So really, that's what we would be approving today, I think, the fact that we need the 30 acres of ponds. And you've got your application, ready to submit to the state. I mean, you've got it identified, you've got the data.
Well,
You don't have the application.
You've got to authorize
Right.
that you've got to authorize the specific ponds that you want to
That's
consider.
right.
So that would be a motion today. And then you've got to authorize a needs assessment to be performed. That would
Right.
also be a
And
part
that
of the
would be
motion today.
applicable for the other 2 that aren't identified right now.
Well, I mean, at the point that you identify an additional pond, you're gonna have to do a needs assessment for that pond.
Right. If
So,
another one. So we know of 3.
right,
So,
and then
so
you
the
have-
motion would be what? Take it in the order you gave us.
I would say the motion would be, that the Board of County Commissioners consider Pond A, Pond B, Pond C, and perform a needs assessment as to those 3 ponds. And also notify the state engineer's office that those 3 ponds are under consideration by the board.
Okay, so that's what I will do. I will move that we accept. Let's start with it so that we can get it in writing. So I move that we, are we gonna approve?
That we consider.
We consider, actually. All right, I move that we consider the Rusk Pond, the Beckwith Pond, and the Coleman ponds that have been identified for a needs assessment and submission to the state engineer of application. That's what we'll do first,
Yes, perfect.
okay?
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to consider the Beckwith Pond, the Rusk Pond, and the Coleman Pond for submission as fire suppression ponds to the state and to perform a needs assessment on these ponds. Any further discussion at the table?
Who is going to do the needs, who in the county is going to be in charge of the needs assessment?
Well,
Planning and
would be
zoning,
the-
is it?
That would be the
one of
next
you?
step. We're gonna prove that it goes to a needs assessment. We gotta set up
Okay.
that.
That's fine.
So who did you say is gonna be responsible for that?
Nobody yet.
He's saying that's a separate motion.
Oh, okay.
Let's get the fact that we need to recognize there are 3 ponds there. And that will be submitted for the state engineer.
I think part of that needs assessment then probably falls under that 4.3, which would be the written landowner approval for access to those ponds, correct?
Sure, it'd be part of the application process.
And I mean, I'm just reading the plain text here, but before applying for the designation of a pond as a fire suppression pond or seeking redesignation of a pond, a Board of County Commissioners in consultation with its fire protection district or fire authority shall perform a needs assessment
Right.
of each pond. So that
So-
might be just a joint effort
That's
between
it.
us and.
That's
this and-
exactly it.
And it pretty much spells out exactly what's required in that needs assessment report, which is right here. So as long as we
Yeah, I think that,
check all those boxes in
That's
that
all.
report, then I think it meets the criteria of.
Okay.
So we're gonna approve that we need 30 acres of ponds today, and we're gonna approve the 3 that have been submitted be considered today. And that needs assessment would take place with you all and us in consultation.
Jeremiah, I'm gonna look at you because per that statement, we are in consultation with your department on this. So I'm looking at you. I know we have not performed that, but before we apply for it, and I guess that's the next step. Today we're considering it, but before we put that application in, that's when we get with Jeremiah. And you haven't really spoke to this today, but again, somebody assumed that because you were here, you were in support, so I'm gonna ask that question.
He also has a letter attached to this.
Oh, is there a letter in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't read it all.
A letter of support.
Okay.
I know just in my career, I've seen both the Rust Pond, or the Rust Pond and the Beckwood Pond used multiple times. They've been a great asset for us, and then they're, for the north end of the valley and everything, they're a great location for both, I believe, air resources and ground resources. One next to the highway is great because just quick access for, you know, heading in east, north or south on the highway from there. I know on the east side of the highway, a little further north, there's all kinds of subdivisions and stuff back there. Houses are kind of stacked on top of each other, and we all kind of know what the fire mitigation is around here. Very minimal. And then, yeah, somebody brought up the point of aerial resources and having to shut down the highway. That takes even more resources just to do that. So I think for the west side of Highway 69, both directions, those would be huge quick accesses for both ground and air resources. I'm not sure which Coleman Pond you're referring to. I was just kind of against myself and Jerry.
It's Christy Coleman.
The kind of the one behind her
Yes.
house out there? Okay. I hadn't been out there in years to look at that one, but.
Okay, so let's keep it real simple here, because I think Kevin hit on a good point, and so did Dan here. We, as a board of commissioners, agree that we need 30 acres of pond, period, in the county. And in consultation with you, you guys are going to recommend what those are. So far, we've got a recommendation of 3. That would, and I guess you really need to complete the assessment with Christy and make sure you know where it is and whether it meets the criteria before she have her fill out the application. But that would be all we need to do. And then as you look through the other ponds, and I would say that would be up to you and Jeff and Joe and other people that are going to say, all right, what's the layout of Custer County? Where should a pond be now? That and it could be down in San Isabel, maybe, I don't know. Probably not, because they got a nice lake down there. But anyway, so I guess what we're approving today, I think it makes sense, doesn't it, Dan? We're going to approve the 3 that we are going to consider. They're going to go in and put the needs assessment to it. They've already done part of it already, and then submit it to the state engineer after we look at it.
What happens is we provide a letter to the state engineer saying these are the ponds that are under consideration. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we're also performing a needs assessment and completing a needs assessment report. And then it comes back to the Board of County Commissioners after that report to approve or not approve those ponds as fire suppression ponds, and that's when the application was submitted to the state.
And that would be submitted by the county commissioners?
By the county commissioners, yes.
Not by the land.
That's correct.
Right, and it would be a separate application submitted by the county, by the board, for each pond.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else from the table?
No.
Any public comment on this? Okay.
Yeah, I have a few.
Go ahead, state your name for us again.
Rob Klein. Are these ponds full all the time, or do they depreciate come the end of summer or whatever, is one question.
It is groundwater spring fed and
It continuously filled up, okay, good. Is there a way we can temporarily approve these particular ponds, because God there's a fire tomorrow or the next day or something like that, you know, what
That process is in place already with Forest Service and things of that nature. If there's a fire, there's a phone call made and the paperwork might be done 3 weeks from now, but it does take place.
Okay.
Yeah, Rob, if there's a fire, they'll use every bit of water they can find. What this really does is keep from the state from filling them in.
Okay.
If we don't want to lose one,
Right.
it is a good one.
Cool.
So that's why we need to do this, and I think, from what I understood, what state engineers say, they're going to be very forgiving right now on timelines. They're not going to go force anybody to fill in anything right now, and especially if we're seriously looking at finding the ponds that we need.
Is there a minimum and maximum size these ponds have to be?
Yeah.
Minimum 3,500 gallons, and
Maximum of 6
6
acres.
acres?
then maximum 6
Okay.
acres.
Okay, Dan just printed this is from Aspen, so what was that?
Clear Creek.
Clear Creek. And it's very simple. You know, here's what they did to do an assessment on them.
Well, that's just the notice to the state
Notice
engineer.
that, that's what I meant,
Yeah,
state
sorry.
engineer notice. There's a process. Okay, everybody clear?
Any other public comment? Go ahead, sir.
Jim Chaplin. It seems like a very good move to me, and the quicker, the better.
Anyone else? Nothing online. Those in favor of considering the Beckwith Pond, the Rusk Pond, and the Coleman Pond for use as fire suppression ponds to perform a needs assessment as well as sending notification to the state. Signify by saying aye.
Hey,
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And we will need to make sure that that letter goes out. And that our needs assessment is performed. Will, do we have one of us that we would like to make sure is the point on that?
I'll take it because I'm sitting in with Upper Ark on these as well.
Okay.
So I'm working with Jerry.
So if you could make sure that letter goes out to the state, and we would need to get the, did you guys have the lat longs on your ponds?
So I'll give you that.
We do.
Okay, so we can do that, and then we'll need to identify the Coleman Pond as well to go into that.
On these individuals, it's got the latitude and longitude both on.
Yeah, it does. Upper left-hand corner.
Right there. I saw all that earlier, but I had to ask the question anyway, just to make it look like I didn't see it.
Who's putting in the dry hydrant? I take it these ponds don't have dry hydrants now.
They do not. I've looked into it. I don't know exactly whose responsibility that falls onto.
I think the fire department actually would want to request
We
that.
provide the specs.
Okay.
The specs rely on the fire department to, like we put the regulations on what we need, what we want,
Right,
and the deal, to where our trucks will hook up to them, so. I'm gonna be revamping those here within the next week or two also.
So who would pay for it?
So we need to find a funding source.
They're about $1,500 a piece with materials to average out.
Would that be up to the landowner, or would
I'll
it be up
talk to Mr. Livengood.
to the state?
He's kind of
State
been one
grant.
of the past ones that have been put in.
For the good of everybody in the county, so it ought to be something.
I know with the, like the
Funded by-
cistern tanks and stuff, we have in the different HOAs, the HOAs that paid for
Right.
them themselves. A couple personal ones that people, cistern tanks people put on their property, they've been the ones to install them, we just give them our specs to go off of. I'll look into that more with Mr. Livengood.
Okay,
Okay, so yeah, if you wanna make sure that that goes out and we get
you did.
Coleman Pond identified as well to go into that letter. And then we move forward with the assessment. Thank you. We'll take a short recess before we move on. Okay, the time is now 10:05 a.m. I will reconvene this meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. And the next item on our agenda now will be joining maintenance and custodial into one position.
Okay, so I put this on the agenda. The maintenance contract is over with Shakespeare Painting. That ended the end of June.
Now we have the option to renew it.
So we have the option to renew it or, but it's we get a little muddy with having the same guy fill in custodial position as well as fill in the Shakespeare Painting contract.
So that being combined with Dave Roscoe.
So what I'm talking about doing is we hired Matt Carver to be our custodian. And what I'm proposing is instead of renewing the contract, we join the two positions together at a kind of a comp, a rate that's in between doing custodial work and doing maintenance work. Custodial ends up being around 30 hours during the summer, 20 hours during the winter time, and then about 20 hours of maintenance during the summer and 30 hours during the winter. With the increased snow load, removing of snow and whatever else may come up. So around a 50-hour blend there between the maintenance services and the custodial services.
So both maintenance and one guy.
And one person at this moment, other than Dave Roscoe still doing the kind of the grounds stuff that he is doing, pulling weeds, mowing lawn, removing snow around.
What do we call him? He's currently the custodian.
Yeah, we can just call him maintenance and custodial person.
So we still have two positions.
Still have two positions, one full-time and one part-time. Because Dave's part-time. Only works so much to keep his. And Dave is looking to eventually retire here. And the sooner, the better, from his aspect, especially.
So who should do the scales? You.
No, Dave can still
Dave's
do
been
those
doing it,
in the morning, but Matt could do those as well in time if we wanted him to. But Dave does those.
I don't in the
So what I was proposing is kind of $17.50 was our custodial rate. $25 is probably a pretty decent maintenance rate. And so I propose a delta between the two of $22.50 at 40 hours and then cap it at 10 hours of overtime at $33.75, which kind of leads to $1,237.50 per week for Matt. I've talked to him about this. He's amenable to this proposal. And this is just to get us through the end of the year. When we look at the budget for next year, maybe we need to look at something different. If Dave Roscoe would leave, we would need to look at something different. Maybe a part-time custodial position and a full-time maintenance position. Where we would combine Dave Roscoe's position and Matt's all into one.
Well, we should have carried over the fact that we would be renewing that contract, so there ought to be money there in the original Shakespeare contract.
So there is still money left in there.
Well, I mean, that we would have budgeted.
But I only
for the rest of the
budgeted
year.
for the end of it, to
the end of the year.
No, I only budgeted for 6 months.
At the first year.
Yeah, for 24th budget, I only budgeted. I put a little extra in there, but I only budgeted until, because then I figured if we renegotiate, that was gonna change that rate, and I didn't know what that rate would be, or if we declined it, so I figured we'd just do a budget resolution.
Well, you have the option to renew, but then it would be what we need to do. Okay, I'm good.
And by doing this, basically, per this conversation, that would mean that we would be not renewing our contract with Shakespeare Paint.
Right. And we would have to cancel that or do that, but we're gonna have to write some letter to Shakespeare about it. They wanna, we're doing it not because they didn't do a good job.
No.
See, that's the point.
We're
That
just
was
ending
the reason
the
we set it up
contract.
the way we did is based on performance. Performance was fine. Actually, it was great.
On one point. Part of it was done really well, part of it wasn't. Different conversation probably though.
Maintenance wise,
Maintenance wise
was fine.
was very good.
Okay, so
Just my proposal. And I guess I'll make the motion that we move the maintenance and custodial into one position. We clean up, well, I'll just make the motion. I move that we put the maintenance and custodial into one position for the rest of this year.
A little confusing, the fact that Dave's a custodian.
Dave's not custodial.
What do we call him? Ground?
He's the groundskeeper.
Ground and maintenance.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to
Combining or
combine,
joining? Same thing.
custodial
Same thing.
and grounds and maintenance into one position. And to have Matt Carver continue to fill that position at a rate of $22.50 an hour. Overtime not to exceed 10 hours, is that correct? That's correct. Any further discussion here at the table?
That's per week, not per month.
Yeah, that is per week. 40 hours a week, not a month, or 50 hours a week.
I guess I would ask Dan just to make sure that where Matt has been filling
That's right.
The custodial part as a county employee already. He's been filling the other position as a contract employee per se. We're now making that all a county position. I'm looking at you, and I guess I could look at you, Robert, as well back there. Are we copacetic, I guess, by doing it this way and leaving Matt Carver in those roles, but now part of his job has moved from contract labor to county employee? Are we required to post that? Are we not required to post
No, you
that?
can change his job description. Okay. Good point. I don't see a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd forgotten we had, so has he been doing the sweeping, cleaning and all that himself, or is he?
Yeah, absolutely. He's the only one that does it.
So, and since you stepped up and nodded to Dan, I'm assuming you're in concurrence with what he stated. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure of that before we moved on that. I didn't want to do something and have to redo it.
No, we were diving into an area we didn't want to go into with renewing a contract that hired the same guy that's also working 40 hours in a position for us.
Any further discussion here at the table?
None from me, sir.
Public comment? Seeing none. Those in favor of combining the custodial and maintenance into one position and continuing with Matt Carver filling that position at $22.50 an hour as a full-time employee, and overtime not to exceed 10 hours. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Since you're standing there, I guess you know that we took that action.
If there's paperwork I need to fill out for that, let me know. So.
Any additional items of business?
Yeah, so I guess we were gonna bring this up in commissioner items, but I didn't.
Yeah, man.
Member of the citizen brought up some questions about the finance director for Custer.
Yeah, I forgot to talk about that. Right.
And so we've got an applicant that's been sent to the committee. They're reviewing that process, or they're reviewing that applicant. So that is out there. This is, I think, the second version of the job notice posting. This posting has been out there for a month or two already, 1 month, and it's been in newspapers, trade websites, job posting websites. Current pay scale is 80 to 125, if I'm remembering correctly. We don't plan on, at this time, upping the pay scale, even though that we may have to do that, or we need to look at some different options. Some of the hindering factors and maybe not getting a qualified applicant is very subjective, but it might be due to anybody that's currently an accountant somewhere has got a house at 3% interest rate. So selling that house and buying a house here, their interest rate's going to more than double. So that could be a reason
If they can find that.
Right. If they can find a house, or if there's a house that they would want here. So I think there's some of that. There's also talking to Redlands Consulting. There is 300,000 plus accounting jobs open in the United States currently. So that could be hindering that factor as well. So if your high school counselor is not telling you about the accounting jobs that are available out there, that might be what you want to go to school for. So there's lots of accounting jobs out there. So that could be some of the reasons.
Locations, no.
Location, they might already like where they're staying from. So I don't know, what else do you want?
That's a big deal.
Discuss about this.
It is hard to get qualified people to decide to move the whole family out here, pay for the move, come out here, and they could have a better paying job somewhere else. That's what we're up against.
Yeah, or they can work from home, because that's still very viable option for many different vocations.
So personally, I'm still committed to keeping the ad going. We haven't got anything to lose by doing that. We need to do that. We have an applicant that we need to evaluate. We haven't done that yet. We'll do that. And then we'll look at options to continue. We've got a good support right now with Redlands supporting us, and that's something we can work until we find a good qualified agent or an option to do it.
And right now, that is costing us half of what our high end is for positions. So.
Right. So we should not leave the department yet. So we got to figure that out. But that's the whole point.
Right.
Let's take it one step at a time. So the application's out. Team is evaluating it. You've got a copy, I think. Based on that, we'll schedule an interview and you talk to that applicant, and then we'll see where we stand.
Yep. Redlands as well has reviewed the applicant. So.
Right. So good. And I'll schedule as soon as we get them together, I'll work with Bob, get the interview set up.
Other item I have is, so next week's meeting will be our 6-month, 50% through the year budget review meeting, and that we'll hold that over at SAR. It's an open meeting, so the community is welcome. I will have hard chairs and coffee available. If you want to come to that. The last one lasted around 5 hours, 6 hours, so I expect this one to last as long, or we'll see.
Might not have you got to come a long ways in what presentation in it.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're saying bring cushions in your own coffee. If you want to get coffee.
I might be saying that.
Who's making the coffee?
Bring donuts, Jim.
I bring my own.
There you go.
But that, I just wanted to let people know there's not a regularly scheduled BOCC here in this room. It's in the SAR building that's already reserved.
Where's that building at?
The SAR, the search and rescue.
By the sheriff's
The other
office.
side of the sheriff's office, that building. Is that all you have then?
I think so.
Okay. I neglected one item as well during commissioner items. I attended the Florence Fire Department meeting last night. They have replaced one of their tenders. Had a 2,400 gallon tank on it. They made a decision last night to donate that vehicle to Wetmore Fire. So I'll be seeing your girls after all that paperwork signed, because we'll need to register a truck. And so it's up and running. They've been using it right up to the point they replaced it. So I don't think we have to fix anything on it at the present time, and we can put it right into service.
That's coming from
Florence Fire Protection District. Okay, anything else, gentlemen? That being the case, this meeting is adjourned at 10:22. As soon as that word went out of my mouth, allow me to back up. Public comment.
I'll let the other gentleman go first.
We'll start in the back row.
There you go.
If I can get up.
And go ahead and state your name for us, please.
My name is Jerry Trace-Plum, head coach for the Custer County Claybusters. And there's been a lot of talk and rumors going about misunderstandings about equipment out at the range, people claiming it, who it belongs to, and I'd like to go on record clearing that up right now. And if you permit me, I'll read my statement.
You may.
The school, Custer County Schools, neither authorized, approved, or ordered a single piece of the approximately $35,000 worth of traps and equipment that we have out there at the range. Nor did they spend one penny of school funds for that equipment or any other equipment that's out there. Furthermore, the 4-H has not contributed either labor or money for this range. The 4-H asked the Custer County Claybusters 4 years ago if they could shoot out there, and the Custer County Claybusters to further shooting sports for Custer County youth said, sure, you can use our equipment. Custer County Claybusters. Almost all the equipment came through grants from the Friends of the NRA or for monies donated to the Friends of, by the Friends of the NRA directly to the Custer County Playbusters and their volunteer coaches. There is not one piece of equipment, not even a wooden bench out there that came from either the school or the 4-H. And everybody seems to think that they own that equipment. Custer County Playbuster owns that. Every piece, everything that's out there. And the replacement value on all that equipment is between $35,000 and $40,000. And the number of hours that have been put in by volunteer Custer County Playbuster coaches it probably is more than 1,000 hours. And I feel that Custer County Playbusters is being pushed out of the whole picture, trying to be shut down. And that's a paranoid opinion. But that's what it looks like to me. You're about to lose Custer County Playbusters. I was excluded from the MOA process. I have no idea what it looks like today. I'm sure it had to be rewritten once Custer County Playbusters was taken off of the, no one has seen fit to send anybody on the Custer County Playbusters what the MOA looks like.
I have a copy right here if you would like it.
And when is it going to be considered and signed and?
That needs to be signed.
I thought it might be
I'll respond.
an item at this meeting.
So I'll respond to a couple of things there, sir. One, we'll start with the MOU. The MOU is between the sheriff's office, the county, and the school district. And I believe you, the Playbusters, I won't say you, the Custer County Playbusters is a school-sanctioned club.
It's an extracurricular activity.
Sponsored by the Custer County School District.
That's during the March through May.
Okay.
Wait a minute, that's from March through May. The rest of the year, the school doesn't sanction anything, doesn't perform any duties, has no say over the Custer County.
Okay, based upon that, during that small time frame when the school district sponsors it,
yeah,
if you are a part of this MOU, excuse me, you will be welcome at the Custer County owned shooting range. If you participate with the MOU, provide the insurance, the range masters, everything that has been asked for. If not, you are not welcome. You are an invited.
You can have.
Excuse me now, let me finish.
Custer County Playbuster is extinct. We've lost that.
Okay, because it is on county-owned property. It is adjacent.
I was.
Okay,
hold on.
Let me finish, sir. It is county-owned property. It is a county range. It is not owned by the Playbusters. It is a county range on county property adjacent to a county pit, which falls under MSHA regulations. There are a lot of things that enter into this. If there is no MOU in place, if there is no insurance in place, you cannot be there and will not be there.
And do you have these same requirements for the 4-H?
The 4-H has furnished all of that documentation, sir. They are also an invited guest, and if that was not in place, they would not be on our
Were we
range
not an
meeting.
invited guest?
You were, but there has not been an MOU. It has,
I submit then that the Custer County Playbusters removed all of the equipment that they purchased in order for that.
and that will be between you and the school district.
No, the school, I told you, the school district has no claim on any of that.
And that's not our concern. That is between you and the school district.
No, it's not between me and the
Okay,
school.
well,
It's the Custer County Playbusters.
That is your opinion, and that's fine. That has no
The
place in
school
here.
district has no claim on that.
That's between you and the school district.
No, it's not.
They have a
Sir,
different
it
opinion.
is not.
You don't need to yell or raise your
Hold on,
voice.
Jerry.
The point is, it's not up to Custer County.
I
About
didn't
that
say it
equipment.
was. I'm just telling you,
You
the
don't need
school
to
has no
raise your
place.
voice at anyone in this room. No one's yelling at you.
Yeah, I put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours out there on my own, free of my cost. I've hauled targets from Alamosa, all under my own cost for 4 years. And you wiped it out.
So.
You wiped it out.
So is Custer County Clay Busters a different organization that's sponsored kids from the school from March to May, but otherwise you are an organization that is different from the school? You're an organization.
Custer County Clay Busters was formed by, and Todd Byerly was the original person that did this. He was, up until this year, Todd Byerly was the head coach from the beginning. Todd Byerly is willing to come in and meet with the commissioners or anybody else to tell you how it was formed. But it was formed by an agreement between the commissioners at that time, 4 years ago, and the sheriff's office, because it's on the sheriff's range. It's on the sheriff's range. And Todd and I had a long discussion last night about this. And he would like to come in and talk to, and clear up all of these issues. You've been hearing one side of the story. And that's not enough. There's more than one side.
But it's not the county's job to adjudicate this dispute between you and the school district.
I have no issue with the school district, other than the fact that they don't own anything out there.
Well, Jerry, the Clay Busters don't own the ground either.
No,
And-
no,
let's
we
go
don't.
on. That's right. Now, wait a minute.
We'll be glad to move
It's
everything
county,
out.
it's county property. And if there was, and I don't recall as a commissioner, Kelly, was there an MOU, was there
No, there wasn't an MOU, it was
So
a
that-
word
So
between gentlemen, an agreement between
Listen, the
gentlemen.
real issue is county cares, I care, that nobody gets hurt, they follow the rules, our insurance is covers whatever it covers. And that's what it does right now. And it's not a public range, Jerry, it's just not a public range. And so it doesn't mean that we couldn't have an MOU to go do certain things differently, but right now, there's three entities, the county school, the sheriff's office, and the county itself.
We'll take the county schools right out of it when Claybuster
Well,
gets your equipment out of there.
Well, that's
And
okay.
there's no more program for.
Well,
the
that's
kids.
okay, if that's what, if the school doesn't want to do that, that's fine.
It's a simple set of requirements that both of the invited guests, the Claybusters and the 4-H, need to provide to the county. And the 4-H has done that. If you,
And the
if you
Claybusters
would,
haven't?
no, you have
You
not.
you haven't got the form, you got the forms, you need to fill them out, and
I have no forms.
we sent them out.
Not me. They took, Reggie was in my office.
We sent it to the
a week
school,
ago.
the school should have given
Reggie
you
was
a
in my
copy.
office a week ago and said, you're out of it, you're out of it. You cannot, it's all schools. The school is approving
So
entity here.
there's three organizations. There's a school, there's 4-H, and then there's Claybusters, is what I'm hearing. So
The
there would
school
be,
is out there by the good graces of the Custer County Playbusters and the county.
It has nothing to do with the Claybusters who is invited to that range. Not at all. It is not a Claybuster range.
Now,
The
wait a minute.
entities
You don't
are-
have the history, sir.
but
You
I'm
don't
trying,
have
but-
the history.
I mean,
The
I-
Clay,
Oh, we can't be talking over each other like this.
the The three entities are the county, the 4-H, and the Claybusters, which is a sanctioned club through the school district. If they are not sanctioned through the school district, then yes, we're wiping you out. It came about as a sanctioned club. They have a teacher sponsor, are supposed to have a teacher sponsor for this club. It is through the school, and that's why the school is part of this MOA. MOU.
There's one function the school does for us. When we formed Custer County Playbusters 4 years ago, there was, what do we do about any monies that we have? This was a meeting of the volunteer coaches of the Playbusters. We're in formation. And no one wanted to handle the money. No one wanted to be the person responsible for the money. So it was gone to the school. The school has an account for the money. And that's the only thing the school does. If I need some money for some equipment out there, or to be reimbursed for some equipment that I built, construction that I built, I go to the school, and that representative that you talk about in the school, teacher or something, happens to be Zach Bissell right now, the vice principal. And I talk to him, and I give him my needs. I supply him with expenses that I've spent or things that I want to spend. He authorizes a payment out of that account for that, writes me a check, or writes whoever. Recently, I went to bought $1,100 worth of targets put out there at the range for the Custer County Playbusters. They're not targets for the 4-H or anybody else.
That's fair enough.
And so he gives me a check. That's the only function that the school has throughout all of this.
Okay.
With the insurance that the Playbusters have during the shooting season comes through the USA High School Play Target League. There's been talk about, we are authorized by the, or we're controlled by the US trap shooting organization. Not at all, there's nothing.
Jerry,
Well,
yeah, listen, I think we all appreciate it. We love the fact that the kids can practice and do that. But the problem is, if you had set this up on private ground somewhere else and set up a range yourself, wouldn't be an issue. In the school, if they wanted to function, sanction it for 3 months, that would have been fine. You still have your range. The problem is you're on county ground. In order to be on county ground, it requires a certain amount of insurance and a criteria that we have to, by state law, do. And so and you're more than welcome to be out there from March to whenever the kids can practice. And if you wanted to have a longer practice season, fine. You know, it's part of the school thing. You can go out there. But other than that, you can't be out there and have practice. You can't go raise funds. We can't have people out there.
Has anybody read this? Where does this come from?
It's the state law. It's the state insurance requirement.
That's why I came in to look at the insurance law, and they're not gonna give me one.
Yes, they are. I asked
it
for
has been requested from CTSI, as far as our insurance.
As soon as we get
you
the
need to
addendum.
provide insurance with the county as a named beneficiary.
Right.
Or additionally insured. And that is part of the requirements that we submitted to the Playbusters. And as far as your relationship with the school, I think that you need to visit with.
No, I don't.
Okay, if you don't, then there's no problem.
You don't have to.
But you need to have that conversation with the school to move forward where you're at, because it has been set up as a school-sponsored club. And that's the only way it's going to be allowed out there. We cannot have a private club.
We're not talking about a private club. We're talking about fundraisers. to
Okay.
support.
Okay.
We're reaching
That's
the point now where this is no longer
Because
public,
We're done.
we're reaching the point where this is no longer public comment, this is not on the agenda.
Yeah.
People in the public don't have notice that this was gonna be discussed at this meeting.
So.
Right, and we did a good job of understanding this, but we cannot do anything else.
So we're done.
We're done unless you
It's
want to
over.
be on the agenda for
Because
another time.
without the fundraising, Custer County Playbook.
You can go raise
Friends
funds,
of the
Jerry, you
Custer
can go
County
raise funds
Friends of the
anywhere you
NRA
want.
Is debunked. There's no funds coming in for the Playbusters or 4-H from the Friends of the NRA.
Okay.
And without them, or without this fundraising, we have no support.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Custer County Playbusters folds. So I would like to go out there and extract our equipment. Can somebody accompany me to haul that equipment out?
You just said the equipment was purchased by the school district. You said
No,
school
no, no,
district
no,
funds.
no.
You just said that you go to the school district and get a check from the school district for that equipment.
Most of the equipment came as a direct
Okay.
delivery. See, you guys don't understand.
Yes, we do.
Most of the equipment, no, you don't.
Okay, we're done now. Please have a seat.
No, I'm leaving. You,
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment?
go ahead.
None
None of it was purchased by the school. Damn it, you don't listen. This is a.
You're done, sir, thank you.
I'm done.
Further public comment?
Yes.
Sir.
Yeah, Rob Klein, I guess I can go ahead and give you guys the copies that I'm gonna be reading to you guys, and you guys can figure out where we stand on this
How
here,
many
you know.
pages you got there, Rob?
Well, when you read it and we get to it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna read my first 2 pages of the statement, and everything else is really just documentation that goes along with it. I'm complaining right now about zoning violations, illegal dumping, and catch ponds. As you know, my name is Rob Klein. From time to time, I attend the board meetings, the commission's meetings in person and or via Zoom, and I voice my concerns on some agenda items. As commissioners, you guys are doing a great job, and I appreciate all you do. But at the same time, you rely on your staff to keep you informed. Here is where I have the problem. Not too long ago, mid-June, I verbally in-person reported apparent violations to the zoning department that there are people within the Centennial Ranch that have built accessory structures, outbuildings, extensions onto their cabins, and some have installed shipping containers. State electric permits believe not issued on one such structure. The zoning director reviewed one file, and sure enough, they were not brought up to date, and permits were not issued or satisfied. Another file was not available for viewing. These violations are ruining the landscape and ambience of the land and are in strict violation of the planning and zoning department. And this ranch is compelled to govern by the rules and regulations of the county planning and zoning department. Eventually, most structures and RVs are abandoned and left to the wind and elements. As citizens, we also have a responsibility to the land. This puts the burden on law-abiding fine citizens to pay higher taxes when revenue is neglected to be collected. It is a free-for-all when it comes to the Custer County zoning restrictions being enforced. This particular HOA is reluctant in abiding by a county with rules and regulations in place to protect all the citizens. I wish not have my homestead, which is legally permitted, by those who wish to disobey and destroy what is in place to protect all. If a range fire was to occur for faulty wiring or such from a reluctant homeowner to do things legally and cause destruction, death or harm of the emergency crews, my family, including livestock, is a problem for me. I have also notified the zoning department of illegal dumping taking place as well. A written, documented, thorough complaint of 22 pages was submitted on 29 June 2024 and seems to have collected dust. Zoning was to inspect the site in question on 3 July 2024. I have followed up on 11 July in person, and it seems the zoning director has taken a lackadaisical approach to all brought before her. She stated the non-filed permitted catch pond was noted by the water commission when they went out to inspect, but zoning gave no mention to the illegal dumping aspect of the complaint and seems to have written it off. Zoning stated there was no law in place on illegal dumping, yet the Custer County homeowners packet states differently, as well as a statute to which I noticed zoning on. There are codes of Colorado regulations and even EPA standards of concerns. And then once again, I listed everything there. Custer County homeowners packet, section 214, clearly states about dumping on private property. Custer County enactment clause is signed off. CRS 184-511, the Code of Colorado Regulations 6 CCR 1007-2, Part 1. The Custer County zoning resolution. CRS 3028-120, just tells you guys about the responsibility that the commissioners have. Hazardous waste could be involved, as we would never know unless investigated. The particular person involved in the violations of the statutes and zoning homeowners packet under subsection 214 is an ex-out-of-state law enforcement officer who also was let go by the Custer County Sheriff's, as is the word on the street, as a Rotary Club driver here in the county. At the 10 July 2024 Board Commissioners meeting, one of your staff reports was neglected to state that which I believe the commissioners should be aware of. The staff report was very laid back and seems not to be in line with the duties required to be performed, due diligence, and the obligations within her office. And she has made excuses in the process and is hiding the information to be disclosed and failed to take action, all noted above. The Custer County Sheriff at the 10 July Commissioners meeting also made note of the expense that would come about if a fire was to happen on private property here in the county. This is a concern of mine and should be a concern for the Board of Commissioners and the fine citizens of Custer County. We are being infiltrated by unworthy people coming into this quaint county who will destroy what most of us here wish to preserve and enjoy. Catch ponds have also been reported to where some uncaring owners are stopping the natural flow of water, again with no permits in sight. There is also overflowing or leaky water holding tanks on vacant properties with no automatic shutoffs installed to where tens of thousands of gallons of precious water resources are wasted on a daily basis all year. Water is life, and the aquifers are being drained needlessly and without consideration or respect of others. And the complaint is right there in front of you. I appreciate you guys listening.
Thank you. Anything else? James?
Yes, I was unable to attend I chose not to attend the July 10th commissioner meeting. And at that meeting, in public comment, some comments that were made that were not in fact true, in fact are misinformation, disinformation, whatever you want to call it. And none of the commissioners mentioned anything about it. Therefore, I, as a fact checker, I guess, whatever, want to get on the record the facts about what was said. First of all, the public comment came out criticizing the election integrity workshop that you had because it was for the commissioners and it was one-sided, et cetera, et cetera. As we all know, it was a workshop to add information to the issue that was balancing the original election integrity meeting that you had, and therefore I applaud you for doing that, to gather the information on both sides as opposed to one. However, in public comment at the end, the commentor made the statement that the Secretary of State had attempted to remove Donald Trump from the ballot of the state of Colorado. That is absolutely false. The Secretary of State cannot do that.
unless a challenge has been made to that particular candidate, which there was. It was a lawsuit by 6 Colorado citizens that went through the state courts and was decided that indeed that particular person violated the 14th Amendment in that they participated in an insurrection. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court overruled the state court in that sense and allowed the candidate to stay on the ballot. But the Secretary of State has nothing to do with that other than to enforce the rules of the state. I'm actually surprised that in this county, that the biggest complaint about that whole operation wasn't that the U.S. Supreme Court overruled a state in a process that is reserved to the states. That is the process of administering elections. It's kind of ironic, I guess, that now the federal government is taking precedent in a political environment in this county as it is over the state government, when I always thought that that was where the power should lie around here. Anyway, what I wanted to do was get it on the record. Secretary of State had nothing to do with that issue, and those that state or believe that are incorrect.
Thank you.
Isn't it is it a federal election? I mean,
No, it's,
I thought it was a federal election.
you can probably visit here afterwards, one time around here on.
Okay, I'm sorry, okay.
Thank you though, and thank you for abiding by that. Any other? Let me look online here. Okay, now I will adjourn this meeting at 10:52 a.m. And my apologies for that.